track cycling. It's fun, it's fast, and there's always something happening. Today we're racing at the Lee Valley Velodrome in London, and for the first time ever, British Cycling have permitted onboard cameras, and that is a huge deal. But we also have other exciting news for this channel, and that is we have a new sponsor for the channel in the form of Galibier. Galibier are a brand making cycling apparel at very reasonable prices, and for the foreseeable future I'll be using them for training and day in day out riding. They have a range of summer to winter kit and from training to racing, so they've got lots in store. Do check them out in the link in the description box. So today's race is in Lee Valley Velodrome, and it's part of the Bespoked Bike Show. So if you don't know what that is, Bespoked is like the biggest bike show of handmade bikes. So you have all the big brands, independent frame builders coming from all over the world to showcase the stuff that they're making. So we've got some absolutely incredible stuff. We've got some amazing looking bikes. It's got a bit of everything really. It's got some really quirky looking bikes, you know, some incredible paint jobs, bikes being made out of all sorts of materials. Here we've got like some titanium lugged carbon frame. Here's some carbon lugs, and for me I think the showstopper was this 3D titanium printed bike. There's nothing like it really. Bling bling bites aside, today's video is actually all about the racing. Hopefully give you a little bit of an insight of what's involved and break down the racing and give you a bit of a perspective with what the tactics are and what's involved.
Hello.
Hello.
How are legs feeling?
Oh great. I've shaved though, so...
Oh, freshly shaved.
Freshly shaved.
Jeez, man's looking error in that.
But yeah, first let's do a bike check. Shout out to Chris for being my bike holder. Not gonna lie, this is a bit of a joke bike build. The whole bike costed me about £500 all in. Got some questionable wheels. We've got some road tyres on both of them. Today's gearing is 50/14, which is 96 gear inches for you trackies. We have some 36cm bars, and there's my GoPro underneath the bar. And ultimately, to race and do fast training sessions, you kind of do need to be accredited to ensure it's safe and enjoyable. So in track cycling, you've got endurance and sprint. Today we're focusing on the endurance races, and in particular we're going to be doing the races from the Omnium. So the Omnium is basically a multiple race event in track cycling. Today we're doing 3 of the 4 events of the Omnium, and that is the scratch, elimination and points race. So first up we have the scratch race. The scratch race is probably the most straightforward race. You know, the first across the line is the winner. So yeah, here we've got Ollie, who's very generously supplied an extra camera angle, which is mounted onto the bottom of the saddle. So yeah, it's a rolling start, and we've got 40 laps, which is 10 kilometers in length. So for those who aren't really familiar with the different parts of the track, with all the different colors, you have the dark blue area, which is the flat area in between track center and the track. This is the area you kind of use to ride, to kind of roll around and get up to speed before you get onto the track. The light blue section is called the Côte d'Azur, or the safety zone. Technically this is part of the velodrome, but you shouldn't be riding on it basically. Then you've got the black line and the red line, and together they form the sprinters lane. So the red line is about 70 centimeters above the black line, and in a sprint, if the lead rider's in between the lane, then you kind of have to stay in that lane and you're not allowed to deviate. So anyone who wants to come past has to do so above the red line. The blue line is also called the stayers line, and usually it's for use in marathon racing and kind of team-based kind of events like the Pursuit. And it's like a nice sort of gauge to kind of check where you are on the track as well, because obviously in between the red and the very top of the track, the blue is kind of just below the middle. usually use the blue line and swing above the blue line to swing off the front and come back into formation. The banking around the velodrome is actually very steep. So at the Lee Valley Velodrome, it's 42 degrees. So kind of any speed below about below 30k an hour, you shouldn't really be on the banking. You should be going faster than that. So if your speed is kind of dipping below that, you can actually slip. And I've been there before. It's not pleasant because it's a long way down from the top. Today in the field we've got about 20, just over 20 riders. So yeah, now I've kind of made my way to the front and very timely move, and I'm able to kind of respond to that. I think these early attacks are kind of just to test the water in general. People generally test the legs and try and see where everyone's kind of at. Kind of see if there's an appetite to for a little group to kind of form breakaways and see who's kind of keen to kind of get in moves off the front. I'm not one of those riders, and obviously to be a good endurance track rider you kind of do need good absolute sustained power output, but also like the ability to kind of go into the red frequently and recover very quickly and respond to attacks. The best endurance riders will be able to kind of read the race just like a book, knowing which moves are going to be successful. So we're just going to fast forward a few laps, now down to 24 laps to go, and this is like the crucial move. We've got three riders going up the road, and here no one's really willing to respond. There are two guys kind of trying to bridge the gap before everyone kind of surges and follows. I'm not really in the position to be able to like follow moves like that this early in the race. I wanted to be a bit more conservative with my energy, kind of save a bit, because this is the first race after all. I wanted to be kind of consistent with the second and third race as well, and not to mention that I actually have another race the next day. So here you can see that that pressure kind of builds itself into kind of groups kind of forming, and people not being able to keep up, and gaps in the field kind of appearing. I kind of put in the effort and try and bridge the gap, which I do obviously. Everyone's kind of quite fresh still at this stage, but you're kind of beginning to kind of see a few little fractures which manifest into kind of these little gaps in the field, which you do need to kind of shut down, otherwise you leave it and then they're gone. I'm actually not that great a track rider. I'm not a track specialist or by any stretch, but because I've got another race basically after on the next day, which is a hill climb. So for me it was just a nice kind of extra bit of fun really on my race program. So yeah, we're going to fast forward a little bit, and this is, I think, about 6 laps to go, coming into 5 laps to go, and at this stage the two breakaway riders have kind of got this healthy gap over the bunch, and no one in the bunch is kind of willing to chase. So that's my mate Chris there. I think he wanted to kind of chase them down a bit, but with 4 laps to go, I think everyone's kind of wanted to save their legs a bit, go for the sprint, and no one was letting anyone else go ahead. So everyone kind of reacts to that, and I kind of just follow and try and save energy and go for the sprint. So with 3 laps to go, it is very clear that this is the race for 3rd place basically. Chris kind of falls back now, and I'm kind of in a decent enough position, but everyone reaching the front, realizing they're at the front, kind of doesn't want to lead it all out, and this is like the long wind up. So yeah, at this stage, with 2 laps to go, there's a lull in the pace and I kind of get caught up, and I should have really gone around and followed the guy in Lee Valley's wheel. But hey ho, it's what it is, it's what racing is. It's what racing is, you snooze, you lose. And kind of don't really have the legs to kind of go around anyone at this stage. So I kind of rolled across the line in 9th place with an average speed of 30.2 miles per hour, 48.7k an hour. So pretty fast start to the day. In between the races, we would keep ourselves warm, keep the legs kind of fresh, go on the rollers. Quite cool to be kind of just stationed in the middle of a bike show. So the next race is the elimination race. And I think for me, this is like the most fun of all the races that we're doing today. So what happens is every 2 laps you get one rider who is eliminated until there's one person left. So the person who's left on the track last is declared the winner. Right off the gun, the pace is so fast, and everyone's kind of sprinting off from the start to try and get into prime position, which is actually at the front. Very quick acceleration, and already when the race actually starts now, we're already at 48k an hour. So very fast start. So in this race, you have to be on constant watch at the back. Obviously, you don't want to be caught out being the last across the line. I actually start in probably the worst position possible, and being at the end is not good. So what I do is I make my way to the front, so I sprint across the line, try and hold that momentum, and steadily make my way to the front. So for the elimination race, the best place to be is actually right at the front, eating the wind. You actually save a lot of energy just being at the very front. You take the shortest distance around the track. If you imagine like the whole group kind of cruising side by side as well, the people on the outside, to kind of make the same lap time, for example, they have to be going faster as well. So that eats into your energy reserve as well. But also you don't need to surge to try and pip anyone off the line. What you end up doing is you maintain a very constant speed, so you never really have to go into the deep red. That said, I'm still not strong enough to actually ride and sit at the front eating wind. I do need to rely on the draft of sitting behind other riders. So for me that's a bit more risky, because I'm never always in the optimal position. There's 2 kind of main strategies to get around this race, and it will depend quite a lot on what sort of rider you are. If you're more kind of a time trialist, or a pursuit kind of rider, and you can kind of just cruise at the front of the race and just maintain that ideal position all the way through, that's pretty good. And for me, I don't have the facilities for that, I don't have a huge aerobic kind of capacity that some riders do. You'll see in this race that the rider in white at the very front right now, he actually maintains that position for a very long time. As much as I'd love to be doing that, I just cannot hold that position. The polar opposite strategy is to basically just be at the very back. And that way you can actually see everyone that's in front of you, and you can monitor who is where. And your main goal is to actually only beat one person on the line. You just need to pick one person on the line, and that means you're not last. So if you're a more kind of sprinty, punchy rider, then you could go for this strategy, and it would pay off quite well, because you'll always be in the draft, and all you need to do is just to do a little surge, So being the type of rider that's great at doing precisely neither, a healthy compromise for me is to kind of be near the front, so I can actually get a bit of a draft of people, trying to stay out of trouble as much as I can. So that means trying not to, being in about second, third wheel is like the optimum position. Obviously it's so hard to like just keep that position because you constantly have people trying to overtake and get into that ideal position towards the front. So for me, the critical point in the race is when you get down to around 10 or less riders. So I can actually save a bit of energy in the sort of beginning stages of the race, and as the race progresses, I'll still have enough to kind of pip a few people off the line, which I actually do. So you can see me here, I'm kind of getting like a semi-draft, but by positioning myself on the outside, it means I'll always have the space to kind of be able to go around people and accelerate, because I have a clear road and I have space to the next to me. But when you get to a point where, so you know, we've got this rider kind of coming off now and people are coming around, you get this washing machine effect where everyone at the back kind of tries to overtake around the outside, drop down to the front. When you are sort of towards the back but still in the bunch, this is like the dangerous place because you're at risk of other riders kind of being, you know, being able to kind of shut you off. So here we've got John here, who's kind of managed to accelerate out of his position, go around the outside and pit someone on the line. I've actually been able to do that as well. So you can see this Track Nation rider on to the left just pulling out now. He's just got eliminated. And at this stage of the race, there's only 8 people left. So at this stage, I'm properly cooked now. So what I'm trying to do here is actually just pick one person to line. So we've got Ollie right in front of me with the GoPro. I'm trying to that's the person that I just need to beat at the line. Or someone, well, it doesn't have to be Ollie, but you know, just need to beat one person in the line. So Ollie's kind of been very clever here. He's kind of left it to a very good point to kind of start a sprint now. And then it means it leaves me with less road to kind of sprint and pip someone on the line. So unfortunately on this occasion I'm not able to do that, and we crossed the line with 8 riders remaining in 8th place with a race average speed of 28.9 miles an hour. So a bit slower than the first race, but yeah. The next race and the final race is the points race. It's the longest race of the Omnium. International Olympic level, it's 25 kilometers, which is 100 laps. The objective is simple, it's to win the most points, and there are sprint laps every 10 laps, and you get 5 points for finishing first, 3 for second, 2 for third, and 1 for being fourth. So the rider who's obtained the highest total of points wins the race. So yeah, so this is the roll-off. Very, very civilized start in comparison with the elimination race. And you know, we crossed the line, and you know, you can see the big difference in speed at this stage. You know, no one's really trying to get to the front of the race. Everyone's taking it nice and chill. People are probably slightly more fatigued now, obviously, being the final race. My plan is to actually kind of not really contest for the first sprint at 30 laps to go, and kind of just watch the race and see if there's an appetite to kind of make a move at kind of middle or latter stages of the race and get points there.
Oh, not interested. So get out of the way, Calvin. Alright.
So yeah, my friend Chris decides he wants to have a go, and he's telling me to get out of the way. So that move with Chris and Justin doesn't quite last. So I decided, you know, when he dropped back into the main bunch, I'd make a little bit of a mockery.
What happened, mate?
nothing like a little bit of a mid-race violation. But yeah, so going into the first sprint, I don't really pick up any points, so my objective was to actually try and get some points in the later stages of the race. So fast forward a little bit, and this is with 27 laps to go. There is a move being made at the front, and I decided I'm going to follow that move. I wouldn't be able to kind of make a move on my own. I'm not really powerful enough to kind of do that. So I would have to rely on having, you know, a group of 3 or 4 kind of working together and mopping up points that way. That was my intention. So that's why I followed this move here. But we kind of take our turns, we roll, and we kind of work quite efficiently. But I'm kind of monitoring the situation back, and it doesn't really work. Everyone's kind of on our wheels. So I get back into the bunch, recover, and try again. So yeah, there's a bit of a lull in the pace now, and back in the group, everyone's kind of just cruising. And then with this is the second sprint with 21 laps to go coming up. Everyone kind of surges, and I put myself in a really poor position, so I wasn't really able to kind of go around anyone. So I was just following wheels and going to try for a move a bit later on. So no points for me there. Got 5 points for my mate Sanchez up the road. Just going to shut off this gap a little bit, keep that momentum, and we see a rider in the white. He's going for a move. So there's one other rider kind of potentially, is he joining? And then I see a few joining, and I thought, okay, this is the move. Drop down behind the CC London rider's wheel, and try and force a bit of a gap. Doesn't quite work out, obviously. Not really going fast enough, really. So we all drop back to the main group and see if there's anything else happening. So fast forward a few more laps, and this is for the penultimate sprint. So we have Sanchez here in front of us. He's kind of letting a bit of a gap grow, and wasn't sure whether to chase, but I sit back anyway because there's not really much point in contesting for this sprint, being so far back from the front. Poor positioning and luck as well, so I kind of have to close this gap before it becomes anything remotely dangerous and risky. Shut this gap down, so make a little surge and see if anyone is willing to kind of make any moves. So we have, surprise, surprise, we have the same 2 kind of protagonists again, trying to make a move, just keeping that momentum from the sprint and just breezing past the main sort of group. So we'll try and make it work, try and make this, but I don't think we managed to get enough of a gap. So we roll our turn. I look back here at this point thinking, okay, it might work. There's maybe like a 2-second gap, 3-second gap. So I get back into formation, but they're not really rolling turns at this stage anymore, probably because they saw everyone was kind of chasing back on. So I roll off the front, and see that it's growing into a group of 6. So I get dropped back into formation and try and see if this group of 6 manages to succeed in getting an advantage over the main bunch. So we get to the front of the group now, and just doesn't look like this is really working. So I peel off, assess again, and I see that everyone is just there. There's no one the main bunch are literally on us, and it's not really worked. So I sit back in thinking, okay, there's only like a few more laps left, so I may as well just kind of sit back in, recover, and go for the sprint. And again, here I kind of make this mistake of I just sit in the bunch, right in the middle, and it does mean that you're kind of locked in with nowhere to go. You can't really go to the right because people are there, and on the left there's not, people are there as well, so you kind of have to like see where there's a gap, and are able to kind of just slot back in. So now we've got an injection of pace, and this is like the long wind up into the final sprint now. So already like dropping in here, I'm in not a very good position, and people are tired, and people are letting gaps grow, and I'm kind of trying to kind of get to the front, make my way to the front, and try and get a solitary point maybe, but I don't think, yeah, left it too late. This is the bell lap now. People are dropping off now to the left. We're going across, going in front of riders now, overtaking. I don't really have any sprint left, and I see, look, you've got the 4 riders up the road, and for me it's not really much point, so roll across the line, finish the race. Don't really get a position because I didn't really gain any points. Like half the field didn't get any points, but yeah, race average speed 28.3 miles an hour, 45.6 k an hour. So yeah, that is it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video and the breakdown. Yeah, if you've never tried track racing, I'd definitely say give it a go. But yeah, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, hope you enjoyed the ride.